The white room was too bright. Nari stood in the center with her hands clasped together. Her skin patterns flickered between dark blue and purple, fear colors. She could not stop them from showing. Lord Kiros stood near the window. He did not look at her. He never looked at her unless he had to. His scales were pure silver, marking him as noble blood. Nari's scales were mixed with patches of softer skin, hybrid, shameful. "You leave today," he said. His voice was cold and flat. "A human has purchased your contract through the integration program." Nari felt her hearts beat faster. Velrathians had two hearts. Right now both were racing. "A human?" she whispered. "Yes. They are primitive creatures, barely civilized. But the Commonwealth recognizes them as sentient, so the transaction is legal." He turned to face her. His eyes were hard. "You will go to Earth. You will do whatever this human requires. You will not shame this house further." Nari wanted to speak. She wanted to ask why. She wanted to ask if there was another way, but she had learned long ago that questions earned punishments. So she bowed her head and said, "Yes, Lord Kiros." He pressed a button on his wrist device. A servant entered carrying a small bag. "Your belongings. A translation implant has been prepared. The embassy transport leaves in 1 hour." He waved his hand. "Go." Nari took the bag. It was light. Everything she owned fit in one small bag. She walked to the door. Just before leaving, she looked back at the estate. She had lived here for 19 years. In the servant quarters, in the shadows. Never allowed to leave. Never allowed to learn. Never allowed to be anything but a mistake that needed to be hidden. Now she was being sent away, sold, like furniture. Like trash. Her skin patterns pulsed deep blue. The Velrathian embassy on Earth was all sharp angles and cold metal. Ambassador Rintel sat behind a glass desk. She was reviewing documents on a holographic screen. She looked up when Nari entered. "Nari, daughter of Lord Kiros," she said. Not warmly. Not coldly. Just stating a fact. "Please sit." Nari sat. The chair was uncomfortable. Everything in the embassy felt uncomfortable. Rintel pushed several documents across the desk. "These are the contract terms. You will be transferred to the custody of Tae Yang, a human male. The arrangement is permanent unless both parties agree to dissolve it. Do you understand?" "Yes," Nari said quietly. "Do you consent to this arrangement?" Nari almost laughed. Consent? Did she have a choice? If she said no, where would she go? Back to Lord Kiros? To the streets? She was a hybrid. She had no rights. No property. No future except what others decided for her. "I consent," she said. Rintel's patterns flickered briefly. Was that guilt? Nari could not tell. The ambassador pushed a pen toward her. An actual pen, not a digital signature. How strange, Nari signed. Her hand shook slightly. "The translation implant procedure will take 10 minutes, Rintel said. She stood. "Follow me." As they walked through the corridors, Nari saw a window. Outside was Earth, a blue planet. So blue. Not like the crimson skies of the Velrathian homeworld. The continents were green and brown. White clouds swirled in patterns. It looked soft somehow. Gentle. Nari had never seen anything so beautiful. "Beautiful, is it not?" Rintel said quietly. Nari nodded. She was afraid to speak. "The humans call it the blue marble." Rintel paused. "I have processed many contracts like yours. I want you to know something." She looked at Nari directly. "Humans are not what we have been told. They are different from us, but different does not mean cruel." Before Nari could respond, Rintel turned and continued walking. The moment passed. 3 weeks earlier, Tae Yang had sat in his small house with Bora. The old woman had brought food and concern. She always brought both. "You cannot live like this forever," Bora said. She set down a bowl of soup. "Haewon has been gone for 3 years. Tae Yang looked at his wife's photograph on the wall. Haewon smiled in the picture. She had been 8 months pregnant when the transport accident happened. They had been so close to becoming a family. "I know," he said softly. "The integration program is accepting new applications. Many people are finding good matches." Bora pulled out a tablet. "Just look, please." Tae Yang did not want to look. He did not want to replace Haewon. But Bora was right. The loneliness was eating him alive. He worked the farm from sunrise to sunset, pushing his body until exhaustion forced sleep. But the house was so quiet. The nights were so long. He took the tablet. The profile showed beings from dozens of species. Most were seeking economic opportunity or adventure. Some were refugees. Some were like him, alone and searching for connection. Then he saw Nari's profile. It was sparse. No personal statement. No interest listed. Just basic facts. Vilrathian hybrid. 19 years old. No family support, but there was a photograph. Nari looked into the camera with eyes that seemed to hold oceans of sadness. Her skin patterns were muted gray. Her shoulders were hunched. She looked like someone who had learned to make herself small. Taeyang remembered finding a wounded bird as a child. It had looked at him with those same eyes. Afraid, hurting, expecting more pain. He had saved that bird. This one, he said, pointing to Nari's profile. Bora leaned over to look. Her expression softened. Are you sure? The coordinator will tell you that hybrids often have difficult backgrounds. I am sure, Taeyang said. The next day, a human coordinator visited the farm. She was honest. Painfully honest. She told Taeyang that Nari had been born illegitimate, that her father was selling her to settle debts, that she had no education and no skills, that she might be traumatized or difficult. She asked him 3 times, "Are you certain?" Each time Taeyang said yes, he could not explain why. He just knew that something in those sad eyes called to him. Maybe Haewon would understand. She had always believed in helping those who needed it most. That night, Taeyang talked to the photograph. He told Haewon about Nari. He told her about the decision he had made. I hope this is right, he whispered. I hope I can help her. I hope you would approve. The photograph smiled silently back at him. The transport vehicle landed at the farm just as the sun was setting. Nari stepped out onto soil for the first time in her life. The estate had been all metal and stone. Here there was earth, growing things. The air smelled different, organic, alive. A human man stood near a wooden structure. He was not tall. His hair was dark and starting to gray at the temples. His clothes were simple. His hands looked rough from work. He walked toward her slowly. Not threatening, almost gentle. Hello, Nari, he said. His voice was warm. I am Taeyang. Welcome to your new home. Nari could not speak. Her skin patterns flickered uncertainly. Taeyang smiled softly. You must be tired. Come, I will show you around. He picked up her bag without asking. He did not grab her arm. He did not issue commands. He just walked toward the house, looking back to make sure she was following. Nari followed. She did not know what else to do. As they walked, an old woman watched from a nearby house. Bora nodded to herself. Maybe this would work out after all. The sun dipped below the horizon. Golden light spread across the rice fields. In that moment, everything seemed peaceful, but Nari knew better than to trust peace. Peace never lasted, not for someone like her. Still, as she stepped into the house, something small and fragile stirred in her chest. It might have been hope. She did not dare name it. Part 2, the house was not what Nari expected. It was made of wood and stone with warm colors everywhere. Earth tones, she would later learn they were called. The floors were smooth under her feet. Through the windows, she could see gardens and fields stretching into the distance. Taeyang set her bag down near the entrance. Please take off your shoes here. It is our custom. He removed his own shoes and placed them neatly to the side. Nari copied him. She had never been asked to follow a custom before. She had only been given orders. Let me show you your room first, Taeyang said. He walked down a hallway. You must be exhausted from the journey. Your room. The words confused Nari. She had expected to sleep wherever she was told. In the estate, she had shared a small space with 3 other servants. Taeyang opened a door. Inside was a bedroom. A real bedroom. There was a bed with clean sheets. A window overlooking a small garden. A wooden dresser, a closet. The room was simple but clean and bright. This is yours, Taeyang said. I cleaned it this morning. The bathroom is across the hall. If you need anything, my room is at the end of the hallway. Please feel comfortable. Nari stood frozen. Her skin patterns shifted from blue to confused green. This made no sense. Why would he give her a room? Why was he being so polite? Taeyang seemed to notice her confusion. Is something wrong? If you do not like this room, there is another one downstairs. No, Nari managed to say. This is fine. Thank you, he smiled. Good, take your time. When you are ready, come to the kitchen. I will prepare some food. He bowed slightly and left, closing the door gently behind him. Nari stood in the center of the room for several minutes. She did not move. She could not process what was happening. This was not what she had been prepared for. Lord Kiros had told her that humans were rough, violent, that they would use her however they wanted, that she should expect pain, but Taeyang had spoken softly. He had given her a room. He had asked if she liked it. Nothing made sense. When Nari finally found the courage to leave her room, she followed the smell of cooking food. The kitchen was warm and bright. Taeyang stood at a stove, stirring something in a pot. He looked up when she entered. "Ah, good timing," he said. "I made soup and rice, and some vegetables. I was not sure what Velrathians eat, so I made simple food. I hope it is acceptable." He had asked about her dietary needs. In the embassy, they had given her a medical form to fill out. She had assumed it was just for records, but Taeyang had actually read it. He had prepared food based on what she could eat. "It smells good," Nari said quietly. Taeyang smiled. "Please sit." He gestured to a small table. Nari sat. He served her first, placing a bowl of soup and a plate of rice and vegetables in front of her. Then he served himself and sat across from her. They ate in silence. It was not uncomfortable. Taeyang did not stare at her. He did not ask questions. He just ate his food and occasionally looked out the window at the darkening sky. The food was good. Simple but well made. Nari had not realized how hungry she was until she started eating. She finished everything on her plate. When she looked up, Taeyang was watching her with a gentle expression. "Would you like more?" Nari shook her head. She was full. Actually full. At the estate, meals were small and irregular. "Good," Taeyang said. He stood and collected the dishes. "You must be very tired." It has been a long day. This was it, Nari thought. Now he would tell her what he expected. What services she would provide. What her real purpose was, she steeled herself. Her skin patterns went dark blue again. Taeyang finished putting the dishes in the sink. He turned to her. "Your room is ready. The bed should be comfortable, but if you need extra blankets, they are in the closet. Sleep well, Nari." He bowed slightly. Then he turned and started to walk away. Nari felt panic rising in her chest. This was wrong. All wrong. He was leaving? Just like that? "Wait," she said. Her voice came out strangled. Taeyang stopped. He looked back at her with concern. "Yes, is something wrong?" Nari could not make herself say it. She could not ask the question directly. "You do not want—" She trailed off. Understanding dawned on Taeyang's face. His expression changed. He looked sad. Very sad. He walked back to the table and sat down across from her. "Nari," he said gently, "you are a person, not a thing. Not property, a person. I do not want anything from you except for you to feel safe here." "I do not understand," Nari whispered. "I know the contract says you are bound to me, but I did not bring you here to use you. I brought you here because I thought maybe we could both be less lonely. I lost my wife 3 years ago. I know what it is like to feel alone in the world." He paused. "I thought maybe we could help each other." Nari stared at him. Her skin patterns flickered through several colors. Blue, green, purple. She could not control them. "Tomorrow we will talk more," Taeyang said. "But tonight you need to rest. You are safe here. I promise you that." He stood again. "Sleep well." This time Nari did not stop him. She watched him walk down the hallway and disappear into his own room. She heard his door close softly. For several minutes, Nari sat at the table in complete stillness. Her mind could not process what had just happened. He had called her a person. No one had ever called her that before. Nari lay in the bed, staring at the ceiling. The mattress was soft. The sheets smelled clean, like they had been dried in sunshine. Through the window she could see stars. Earth's moon hung large and bright in the sky. She had her own room. Her own bed. She had eaten good food. She had been treated with kindness. None of it made sense. Humans were supposed to be barbaric, cruel, primitive. That was what every Velrathian was taught. That was what Lord Kiros had told her to expect. But Taeyang had been gentle, patient, respectful. He had given her a choice. He had told her she was safe. Nari felt something hot building behind her eyes. It took her a moment to recognize what it was. Tears she had not cried in years. At the estate, crying was weakness. Weakness earned punishment. But here, alone in this quiet room, she let the tears fall. She did not know why she was crying. Relief, maybe, or confusion, or because for the first time in her life someone had treated her like she mattered. Her skin patterns shifted to bright yellow. Shock, disbelief, joy, she did not know. In his own room, Taeyang sat on the edge of his bed. He looked at the photograph on his nightstand. Haewon smiled back at him, frozen in that moment of happiness. "I think you would like her," he whispered to the picture. "She is scared and hurt. But I can see strength in her too. I will try to help her, Haewon. I will try to do right by her." He set the photograph back down and lay back on the bed. Tomorrow would be the real beginning. Tonight was just the first step. He hoped he had done the right thing. He hoped Nari would come to trust him. He hoped that maybe in time they could both heal. Morning came slowly. Nari woke to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then memory returned. The farm, Taeyang, the kindness. She sat up slowly. Her body ached less than usual. The bed had been comfortable. She had actually slept. The smell of cooking reached her. She got up and dressed in the same clothes from yesterday. She had no other clothes. Everything she owned was in that one small bag. When she entered the kitchen, Taeyang was there again. He was making breakfast. He looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Nari. How did you sleep?" "Well," she said. "It was the truth. Good. I am making eggs and toast. And I have fruit." "Please sit." Nari sat at the table. She watched Taeyang move around the kitchen with practiced ease. He hummed quietly while he cooked. The sound was peaceful. When he served the food, he sat down across from her again. They ate together. The silence was becoming familiar. After breakfast, Taeyang said, "Today I will show you the farm, and we will talk about how things will work here. But first, would you like more clothes? I noticed you only have one bag." Nari nodded. She had been worried about that. "We will go to the village later. Bora, my neighbor, can help you find things that fit." He paused. "Is that all right with you?" He was asking permission, again, as if her opinion mattered. "Yes," Nari said. "Thank you," Taeyang smiled. It was a warm smile. Genuine. It reached his eyes. Nari felt her skin patterns shift to soft gold. Just for a moment. Then back to neutral gray. But Taeyang had seen it. The gold. And his smile grew just a little wider. Maybe, Nari thought. Just maybe, this could work. 3 months passed in peaceful rhythm. Nari learned more each day. She could now cook complete meals. She understood the farming cycles. She helped Taeyang maintain the equipment. She read books in both Korean and Galactic Standard. The village had accepted her completely. Children ran up to her in the streets. Adults greeted her warmly. She was no longer the strange hybrid. She was simply Nari, part of the community. Her skin patterns now shifted freely. No more constant gray. She showed her emotions openly. Gold when happy, soft blue when thoughtful, green when curious. It felt liberating. Then the message arrived. Taeyang was checking his communication terminal when he went very still. His face paled. He read something on the screen twice, then called for Nari. She came running. One look at his expression told her something was wrong. "Very wrong. What is it?" she asked. Taeyang handed her the terminal. "It is from the Commonwealth Court. Lord Kiros is contesting the arrangement." Nari's patterns flashed dark blue. Terror blue. She read the message with shaking hands. Lord Kiros claimed the contract was fraudulent, that Nari had been transferred without proper consent, that she was mentally unfit to make decisions due to her hybrid status. He demanded her immediate return to Vilrathian custody. "No," Nari whispered. "No, no, no," Taeyang took her shoulders gently. "Look at me, Nari, look at me." She met his eyes. They were fierce, determined. "You will not go back. I promise you. We will fight this." "The Commonwealth favors nobles," Nari said. Her voice was hollow. "They always side with purebloods over hybrids. I have no rights. No voice. You have me. You have this village. You have people who will stand with you." He pulled her into a hug. "We will not let him take you." That evening, Bora called an emergency village meeting. News of the legal challenge had spread quickly. The community center was packed. Taeyang explained the situation. Nari stood beside him, trying to keep her patterns from showing her panic. When he finished, Bora stood. "We will help." All of us, voices rose in agreement. One farmer offered money for legal fees. Another knew a lawyer in the city who specialized in Commonwealth law. A young woman named Ji-won, who worked with computers, offered to investigate Lord Kairos. "There must be something," Ji-won said. "Nobles like him always have secrets." "I will find them." Nari looked around at all these humans. They barely knew her. She was not even their species, yet they were willing to fight for her. Her patterns shifted to gold. Gratitude. Hope. "Thank you," she said. Her voice broke. "Thank you all," an old man in the back called out. "You are one of us now." "We protect our own," everyone nodded. Nari felt tears on her face. At the estate she had been alone. Here she had a community, a family. The lawyer's name was Minho. He was young but sharp. He reviewed the case files and shook his head. "This will be difficult," he admitted. "Commonwealth courts tend to defer to species-specific laws. Felrathian law does not recognize hybrid rights. But human law does," Taeyang said. "Yes. And the contract was executed on Earth under Earth jurisdiction. That gives us leverage. If we can prove Nari is capable of making her own decisions, we have a case." He looked at Nari. "Are you willing to testify? To speak in court?" Nari had never spoken in front of anyone important. She had been trained to be silent. But she thought of going back to the estate. To the darkness. To being nothing. "Yes," she said firmly. "I will speak." Ji-won worked around the clock. She dug through Commonwealth databases and public records. She followed digital trails that most people would not know existed. On the 5th day, she called Taeyang with excitement in her voice. "I found something. Lord Kairos has sold at least 7 other hybrids through unofficial channels. He pocketed the money without reporting it. That is illegal even under Velrathian law." "Can you prove it?" Taeyang asked. "I have transaction records, communications, everything." She paused. "There is more. I found messages between Lord Kairos and a Velrathian collector. The collector specializes in exotic hybrids. Lord Kairos is trying to get Nari back so he can sell her again, for triple the original price." Taeyang felt rage burn in his chest. Nari was not property. She was a person. How could anyone treat her like merchandise? "Send everything to Minho," he said. "This changes everything." That night, Nari could not sleep. She paced her room. The fear was overwhelming. What if the court sided with Lord Kairos? What if she lost? What if she had to go back? Around midnight, she had a panic attack. Her heart raced. Her breathing came short. Her patterns flickered wildly, unable to settle on any color. Taeyang heard noise from her room. He knocked gently. When she did not answer, he opened the door carefully. Nari was on the floor, curled up and shaking. Taeyang sat down beside her. He did not touch her without permission. He just spoke softly. "Breathe with me, Nari, in and out, slowly." She tried to match his breathing. It took several minutes, but gradually her heart slowed. Her patterns settled to dark blue. "I am scared," she whispered, "I know. But you are not alone in this. You have me. You have Bora and Ji-won and Minho. You have an entire village that loves you." Loves, he had said loves. Nari looked at him through tears. "At the estate I was beaten for speaking, for asking questions, for existing." Her voice was small. "They told me I was worthless, that I was a mistake." Taeyang's expression became very gentle. "They were wrong. You are not worthless. You are brave and kind and intelligent. You are worth fighting for." "Do you really believe that?" Nari asked. "I do, with all my heart." Nari leaned against him. Taeyang put his arm around her shoulders. They sat like that for a long time. Her pattern slowly shifted from dark blue to soft gold. "I will not let him take you," Taeyang said quietly. "I promise." The next day, Minho received the evidence from Ji-won. He reviewed it carefully, then made a call to the Velrathian embassy. Ambassador Rintel took the call. She listened to the evidence. She was silent for a long time. Finally, she said, "I need to see her. Nari, I need to see her in person." "Why?" Minho asked suspiciously. "Because I processed her transfer. I saw her that day. I need to see if she is truly better off or if this is all lies." Minho discussed it with Taeyang and Nari. It was risky, but it might also help their case. Nari made the decision. "Let her come. I am not afraid to show her who I have become." Ambassador Rintel arrived at the farm 3 days later. She stepped out of her vehicle and looked around at the fields, the house, the gardens. Nari met her at the door. Rintel stopped and stared. The transformation was undeniable. The terrified, gray-patterned girl from 3 months ago was gone. In her place stood a confident young woman with patterns that shifted between gold and green. Her posture was straight. Her eyes were clear. "Ambassador Rintel," Nari said politely. "Please come in." They sat in the living room. Taeyang served tea. Rintel watched everything carefully. "Tell me," Rintel said, "what is your life like here?" Nari told her. About the work, the learning, the community, the respect, the choice. She spoke clearly and honestly. When she finished, Rintel asked, "What do you want, Nari?" "I want to stay here. With Taeyang. With this community. This is my home. These are my people." Rintel was quiet for a moment. Then she stood. "I have processed hundreds of contracts like yours. I always felt guilt. I always wondered if I was doing the right thing." She looked at Nari directly. "Now I know. Some of those transfers were wrong. But this one was right." She turned to Taeyang. "Perhaps it is time we Velrathians learned what civilization truly means. You humans seem to understand it better than we do. Will you help us?" Taeyang asked. Rintel nodded. "I will testify against Lord Kiros. I will tell the court what I have seen here. It may cost me my position. But some things are more important than career." Nari's patterns exploded in brilliant gold. For the first time, she felt real hope. The battle was not over. But now they had a chance. A real chance, and they would fight with everything they had. The Commonwealth Court was massive. It orbited Earth like a small moon, a structure of gleaming metal and glass. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports. This was where the galaxy's disputes were settled. Nari stood at the viewing window of their transport ship looking at it. Her patterns flickered nervously between blue and green. Taeyang stood beside her. He asked if she was ready. She admitted she did not know. She was worried about failing, about not speaking properly, about not being believed. He took her hand and told her he believed in her. She should speak from her heart and tell her truth. That was all she needed to do. Nari squeezed his hand. She could do this. She had to. The courtroom was circular and tiered. Judges from multiple species sat in an elevated ring. The gallery held observers from across the Commonwealth. News drones hovered, recording everything. Lord Kiros sat on one side with 3 expensive lawyers. He looked exactly as Nari remembered. Silver scales, cold eyes, perfect posture. He radiated wealth and power. On the other side sat Taeyang, Nari, and Minho. They looked small by comparison, simple, human. The head judge, a being with 4 arms and wise eyes, called the court to order. The court would hear the case regarding custody of Nari. Lord Kiros's lead lawyer stood. He was a Velrathian with perfect diction and commanding presence. He presented the case with confidence. The lawyer explained that Nari was a hybrid of uncertain mental capacity. The contract transferring her had been executed without proper evaluation. Under Velrathian law, hybrids must be cared for by their family of origin. Lord Kiros had the legal right to reclaim her. He painted humans as primitive. He suggested Nari had been coerced or confused. He made it sound like they were rescuing her from barbaric captors. Nari's patterns went dark blue. It was all lies, but they sounded so convincing. When Minho stood to present the defense, the courtroom felt different. He was not flashy or commanding. He was earnest and honest. He explained that this case was not about custody. It was about personhood. It was about the right of a sentient being to choose her own life. He presented evidence of Nari's transformation, medical records showing improved health, testimonies from villagers, footage of Nari working, learning, participating in community life. This was not a confused or incapacitated individual. This was a young woman who had flourished when given respect and freedom. Then Taeyang took the stand. He was nervous, but he spoke clearly. He was a simple farmer without wealth or status, but he knew what was right. When Nari came to him, she was terrified. She expected cruelty. She had been taught that she was worthless, but he showed her what his wife taught him, that every person deserves dignity. Every person deserves choice. Every person deserves kindness. His voice grew stronger as he described how Nari had learned and grown. She had become confident and capable. She was brave and kind and intelligent. She deserved the freedom to choose her own path. That was what civilization should mean. Some judges nodded. In the gallery, people whispered. His simple honesty was powerful. Then it was Nari's turn. She walked to the witness stand on shaking legs. Every eye in the courtroom was on her. Her patterns flickered wildly. The head judge spoke gently, asking her to state her name and tell them about her life. She began. Her voice was small at first. She stated her name. She was 19 years old. She was a hybrid. She took a breath. Then she told her story. About the estate. About being invisible. About never being allowed to learn or speak or exist as anything but a servant. She described the day she was sold. How she had been terrified. How she had expected violence from humans. Then she described her first night at the farm. How Tae-yang had given her a room. How he had asked what she wanted to eat. How he had told her she was a person. As she spoke, her patterns began to shift. Blue to green to gold. The visual display showed her emotions more clearly than any words. She explained that she was told she was not a person. She was told hybrids were mistakes, shameful, worthless. But humans showed her she was wrong, not with words alone, but with actions, with consistent kindness, with respect. They gave her choice. They gave her dignity. They gave her a future. For the first time in her life, she was not afraid every moment. She was not hungry. She was not invisible. Her patterns blazed gold now. Pure and bright, she chose to stay with them. This was her home. These were her people. She was finally, truly alive. The courtroom was silent. Several judges wiped their eyes. In the gallery, people nodded. Even the news drones seemed to focus more intently. Lord Kairos looked furious. His lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. Her testimony was undeniable. Then Ambassador Rintel took the stand. She wore her official diplomatic robes. Her presence commanded attention. She introduced herself. She processed Nari's transfer contract 3 months ago. She had served the Velrathian government for 20 years. She paused. Then she admitted she was ashamed. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. She explained that she had processed hundreds of hybrid transfers. She always told herself it was legal, that she was just doing her job. But she knew many of these individuals were being abused, trafficked, treated as property. She presented the evidence, transaction records, communications, proof that Lord Kairos had illegally sold multiple hybrids, proof that he wanted Nari back only to sell her again for profit. Lord Kairos did not want custody out of paternal concern. He wanted property he could sell. This was trafficking. This was abuse. And the government had allowed it to continue for too long. She looked directly at the judges. She visited Nari at her home on Earth. She saw a transformed person, healthy, happy, confident. She compared that to the terrified girl she processed months ago. The difference was stark. She explained that if they truly believed in the Commonwealth's principles, they must recognize that personhood was not determined by species purity. It was determined by consciousness and self-awareness. Nari was a person. She had the right to choose her own life. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Lord Kairos stood shouting objections. His lawyers tried to discredit Rintel, but the evidence was solid. The testimony was damning. The judges deliberated for 2 hours. Nari sat with Tae-yang holding his hand. Her patterns shifted constantly. Blue, green, purple, she could not settle. Tae-yang whispered that whatever happened, she spoke her truth. He was proud of her. Finally, the judges returned. The head judge spoke, announcing they had reviewed all evidence and testimony carefully. This was their ruling. Nari held her breath. First, they found that Nari possessed full mental capacity and competence. She was capable of making informed decisions about her own life. Second, they found that the original contract was executed properly under Earth jurisdiction and with genuine consent. Third, they found evidence of illegal trafficking by Lord Kairos. He would face separate criminal charges. The judge paused for emphasis. Finally, and most importantly, they established a new precedent. Hybrid individuals within the Commonwealth possessed full personhood rights. They had the right to self-determination. They had the right to choose where they lived and with whom. Lord Kairos's petition was denied. Nari was free to remain with Tae-yang on Earth. This ruling was final. For a moment, there was silence. Then the courtroom exploded. Nari's patterns burst into brilliant gold. She turned to Tae Yang and threw her arms around him. He held her tight, tears streaming down his face. She whispered that they won. They actually won, Tae Yang corrected her. She won. She fought for herself. She spoke her truth. She won. In the gallery, people cheered. Bora wiped tears from her eyes. Jiwon pumped her fist in the air. Minho smiled with satisfaction. Ambassador Rintel watched from her seat. She looked at Nari's golden patterns and smiled. Change had begun. Real change. Lord Kairos was escorted out by security, still shouting protests. But no one listened. His power had crumbled. Outside the courtroom, news drones swarmed. Reporters asked for statements. The story was spreading across the Commonwealth like wildfire. A young Velrothian male pushed through the crowd. He had tears on his face. His patterns glowed soft gold. He thanked Nari. He was a hybrid too. He had been in hiding for years. But now because of her, he had hope. They all had hope. More hybrids came forward. Dozens of them. They had been watching the trial. They had been waiting to see if change was possible. Now they knew it was. Nari looked at all these people. People like her. People who had been told they were worthless. People who were now allowed to hope. She had not just saved herself. She had sparked something bigger. That night on the transport back to Earth, Nari stood at the window again. She looked at her planet. Her home, Taeyang, joined her. They stood in comfortable silence. Nari asked what happened now. Taeyang said they would go home. Work the farm. Live their lives. But he thought her life just became much bigger than she expected. Nari thought about all those hybrids, all those people who needed help, who needed hope. She said slowly that maybe that was okay. Maybe she could help them. Like he helped her. Taeyang smiled. He thought Haewon would like that very much. Nari's patterns shifted to warm gold, peaceful, content, ready. The future was uncertain. But for the first time in her life, it was also full of possibility, and she was not facing it alone. Hana hadn't slept in 3 days. Her small quarters at New Seoul Station were covered in papers, screens, and recording devices. She played the sound pattern over and over, analyzing every detail. Her friend Mirai brought her food that she barely touched. You need to rest, Mirai said, setting down a cup of coffee. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. The scales Hana had collected from the cave were spread across Mirai's workstation. I've got interesting news about our new friends, by the way. Hana looked up from her screens. What did you find? They're silicon-based, Mirai said, her eyes bright with excitement. Not carbon like us. Their whole biology is built on silicon compounds. That's why they look like living crystals. That's why they can eat things that would kill us and vice versa. That explains why the cub got poisoned, Hana said. It ate something its body couldn't process. Exactly. And there's more. The scales have a crystalline structure that can conduct electricity. I think that's how they communicate partially, through electrical signals that create those harmonic sounds. It's brilliant, really. They're living, walking computers in a way. Hana turned back to her recordings. So their language is part sound, part electrical signal, and part color display. No wonder my translator is having trouble. It's only analyzing the audio. She worked for another hour, adding what Mirai had discovered to her analysis. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. The repeated sound wasn't just one word. It was 3 concepts linked together. Her translator finally provided possibilities. Debt, Hana read from the screen. Obligation and return, or maybe reciprocate. She sat back thinking. The mother was saying she owes me something. That she'll return the favor. That's huge, Mirai said. That means they have a concept of debt and honor. These aren't just intelligent beings. They have a society with rules. A loud alarm interrupted them. Daewon's voice came over the station speakers. All personnel to defensive positions. We have contacts approaching from the forest. Hana and Mirai ran to the main control room. Commander Huang stood at the central screen, watching sensor readings. Daewon was coordinating security teams. The screen showed multiple heat signatures moving through the crystalline forest toward the station. How many? Huang asked. At least 15, Daewon replied. Large ones like the creature in the cave. They're moving in formation. This is organized. This is the return, Hana said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. The mother promised to return. This isn't an attack. They're coming to repay the debt, are you certain? Huang asked. His hand hovered over the defense systems. No, Hana admitted. but I'm willing to bet on it. If we fire on them, we destroy any chance of peaceful contact. If I'm right, we gain allies. Real allies. Huang looked at the screen, then at Day One. The security chief nodded slowly. The one in the cave didn't attack even when it could have. It left peacefully. I think Hana might be right. Everyone hold positions, Huang ordered. Weapons ready, but do not fire unless fired upon. Hana, you're with me. We're going out to meet them. They gathered at the station's main gate. The creatures stopped at the edge of the forest, just visible among the glowing crystal trees. The large mother from the cave stood at the front. Beside her was the cub, healthy and active now. Its scales shimmered with bright, happy colors. Behind them stood others. Some were as large as the mother. Others were smaller, maybe juveniles. They carried things in their claws and mouths. Bundles wrapped in some kind of woven material. Stay here, Hana said to Huang. Let me approach first, alone. Absolutely not, Daewon started to say, but Huang raised his hand. Let her go, the commander said. But Hana, any sign of trouble, you run. We'll cover you. Hana walked forward slowly. She had her translator device in one hand. As she got closer, the cub made an excited sound and started to run toward her. The mother made a sharp noise and the cub stopped, but its scales flashed with eager greens and golds. The cub waited until Hana reached them, then it bounced around her feet like a puppy. It made that practice growl again, the one that broke into a squeak halfway through. Hana couldn't help it. She laughed. The sound of her laughter seemed to please the creatures. Their scales rippled with soft, warm colors. The mother lowered her head to Hana's level and made the same greeting sound from the cave. Hana's translator worked better now with more data to analyze. Greeting. Gratitude. Offer, the translator said in its mechanical voice. The translation wasn't perfect, but the meaning was clear enough. Hana bowed slightly, hoping it was an appropriate gesture. Greeting. Friendship. Accept, she said simply, hoping her translator could convert it to their language. The device made sounds, trying to mimic the harmonics and patterns of the creature's speech. It wasn't very good, Hana could tell. But the mother's scales brightened anyway. She understood the attempt. The mother gestured to the bundles. Two of the other creatures brought them forward and carefully unwrapped them. Inside were crystal formations, but unlike any Hana had seen in the forest. These glowed with an inner light. They pulsed gently, rhythmically. Mirai had followed Hana out, unable to contain her curiosity. She knelt beside the crystals and pulled out a scanner. Oh my, she breathed. Hana, these are power sources, natural batteries. The energy readings are incredible. These could power our entire station for months. The mother made more sounds. The translator worked to keep up. Gift, trade, together, grow. They want to trade with us, Hana said, her voice full of wonder. They're offering alliance. Commander Huang had approached as well, with Daewon beside him. He looked at the crystals, then at the creatures, then at Hana. Can you ask what they want in return? Hana tried to form the question with her translator. The mother understood. She gestured to the station, then to her own body, then made sounds that the translator struggled with. Finally, it provided words, knowledge, medicine, different seeing, share wisdom. They want to learn from us, Mirai said. Our medicine, our knowledge, our different perspective. This is incredible. This is real cultural exchange. The cub, who Hana had started thinking of as Bomb in her mind, chirped and rubbed against her leg. It left a few scales behind, shimmering on her suit. The mother made an amused sound at her child's behavior. Tell them yes, Huang said. Tell them we accept their offer. We want to learn from them too. We want to be friends. Hana spoke into the translator, choosing her words carefully. The device converted them into that strange mix of harmonics and sounds. The mother listened, her scales brightening until they glowed almost as brightly as the gifted crystals. She responded with a long, complex statement. The translator worked hard and provided a basic translation. Rejoice, 2 people, now 1 people. Stone speakers meet starwalkers. New age begins. Together stronger. Protect together. Learn together. Grow together. As the sun set over the crystalline forest, humans and the beings they would come to call the Valrine stood together. The crystals pulsed with light. Bomb played at their feet, practicing that brave little growl that no longer needed to sound threatening. Both species had found something neither expected. They had found family in the stars,